Hey everyone, let me just make sure that the sound is working, because last time we had a few technical issues. But welcome to the second session of our sort of build in public with Supabase, and I basically am just going to solve a few bugs, hopefully in less than an hour, and you could just hang out, drop in, drop out, and see how you can contribute to Supabase. Yeah. That's pretty much it. That's all I'm going to do. Now the cool thing is I did this last week for the first time, and it actually, I see already twice this week some people have live streamed doing their own. So I see even just very recently Philip from South Africa, actually I met him, so it's pretty cool. I chatted to him earlier this week or last week, and then you can see here my first attempt at contributing to open source. This is quite cool because first of all it's his first ever open source contribution, and then second of all he actually recorded it and uploaded it to YouTube, and it's the first time he's ever uploaded anything to YouTube. So I think that's sick. I think it's really cool. Definitely what we want to start seeing within Supabase, the community, just people who are first-time contributors wanting to get involved. So this time, if you saw last one, actually I started this React guide, and the idea is that we're going to show you some guides that will show how to get started with Supabase and React. And actually, we'd built this React one last time, and then actually we built live this Next.js quick start, added it to the side here, and there was just one thing that happened during the live stream. Basically there was this error thrown, which was a legitimate error, but it's not good developer experience in my opinion, at least. So what happened was we have this hopefully I can find it, because it's we had this error which basically said, let me find all the issues, pull requests. Basically it said that, you know, this function is returning multiple rows. Oh yeah, here it is. I thought I had RFC on multiple rows with the, no, this is a different one. As you can see, I didn't come very prepared, but basically what happened was halfway through the stream, we had this one where Postgres throws this error that says multiple or no rows returned. The thing is that actually it was a fine thing. What we wanted is when no rows are returned, I don't want it to throw an error. I just wanted to maybe throw an error if no rows are returned, and yeah, not throw an error if there are multiple. So first of all, let's find out. I'm just going to do, there was an RFC here. Maybe it was in post Supabase JS. Yeah, it must have been in Supabase JS. Here you go. Single throwing errors. So what happens is, yeah, if we do this, select from table, select, and then finally add this single. If 0 rows are returned, then it throws this error. And here's what the error looked like in the live stream. JSON object, multiple or no errors or rows returned. So what we'll probably do in this one is actually create this new function called maybeSingle. And actually it's been a long time since I've even looked at Postgres.js, so I'll be probably stumbling, and I'll time cap it to maybe 30 minutes. And if we solve it within 30 minutes, great, or I'll start the process. If we don't, we'll merge these guides even with their error, but I'll just put a catch on the error. So it actually returns the status code 429, I believe, and yeah, so it returns a 429, and if that's the error that we see, 406, many should be 406. Here you go. If that's the error we see, then that's fine. Okay, so let's get started with. It'll be much easier if I just do it. So I'm going to open up first of all the new repo, Supabase.js, and in fact I put this error in Supabase.js, but actually this this is the first thing. If you're going to contribute to Supabase, our JS library is actually modular. So I'll open this up, and what happens is that we've got so many different functions inside Supabase. So we've got a auth server, which is actually a server created by Netlify called GoTrue. Then we've got this RESTful interface called PostgREST is the tool, and that's awesome. We actually employ one of the maintainers of that real-time server that we built ourselves. We've got a storage middleware which wraps S3, and then we've got this meta server for communicating with Postgres, and then underneath it all is Postgres. Then what we have is actually these modular libraries, and in fact there's one missing here, which maybe even we should add in this live stream, which is the the storage.js library. So you can see it's like Supabase.js, but that's actually wrapping the RESTful JS, the real-time JS, and the GoTrue.js. Now these JS libraries are actually built by the Supabase crew internally, but everything else that's being built, and in fact there are a couple more coming along, there's Swift coming along, they're all built by the community, which I think is awesome, because some of them, we haven't touched at all, and the community's just done everything, so that's epic. So what we're going to do is actually update the RESTful interface, which means that we'll update Postgres, and then we'll bump the version inside our main repo Supabase lang, and we'll deploy it all hopefully within the next probably 20 minutes now, since I spent so long preparing. But let's see how we go. So inside here, I'm going to first of all take this one, RFC. I'm going to move it to the right repo, so I'm going to transfer this to Postgres.js, which is our isomorphic JS library. Then I'm going to, it's no longer an RFC, I'm actually going to edit this. I'm going to make this one create maybeSingle function. Great. So by the end of this, essentially the Supabase JS library should have this new function, maybeSingle, and what that'll do is it should return either 0 or 1 row, and if it returns multiple rows, more than 1 row, then it'll throw an error. Cool. So let's get started. We'll open Postgres.js, Postgres.js. Then I am going to make sure I have pulled from master once it comes up. Okay, pull down. Then I'm going to create a new branch. Now, actually, we use this thing semantic versioning inside Supabase, and you've probably seen it all the time. So it's like version 1.0.1 or something like that. And what that means is the major version. The 1 is like breaking changes. Then the .0, the second number, is like a feature. If there's a feature, we bump that one. And then the .1, the final one, is a patch, just a fix. Now this one's actually a brand new item. So it's actually a feature. So that's how we also do the naming of our branches. So I'm going to go create a new branch, and I'm going to go feet, like feature, and then we'll do maybeSingle. I'll put an underscore in it so it's easier to read. Single. Okay, that's great. Cool. Now the first thing I'm going to look for, usually in any repo that will be contributed if I'm going to do a new feature, is I'm going to add maybe some tests. So I'll look here first and see if there are some tests, and it looks like, yep, so there's some tests here. We've got some transforms. This looks like, yeah, anything to do with ordering, limiting. We've got some filters, text search filters, all these sort of filters, and then basic. So it looks like this one, and in fact I know that there's a single function. So I'm going to search in here, find in folder, single, if I can spell it right. Okay, so it's in this one, basic, and here it is. Don't mutate the headers. Okay, that's fine. Transforms, what does this one do? Single, test single. Test single on insert. So actually I'm just going to copy this test because it's pretty much the same functionality, and I'm going to say test maybeSingle. Then this should actually limit 0. This one should pass if I do limit 0. So and also there should be maybeSingle. Now this is throwing an error because it's not even implemented yet. So before I get started, I'm just going to comment this out. Let's just see if we can run the tests. So first of all, I'll do a fresh npm install. Then I am going to check and see if I can run all the tests. Here you go, test. So what does this do? Run s, test db, then it runs jest, run and band. Okay, so this is using jest to test. And here you go, first of all it calls this test db, which looks like it's moving into cd, into the database folder. Then it's going to run docker compose down, docker compose up, and then sleep 5. Now we're really going to test my MacBook here, because I think running docker plus OBS plus live streaming off my mobile phone is going to be a struggle. So while docker is just starting up, which you can't see, yeah, let's check out what it's doing inside this database folder. So it's going to go down and then up, so it's actually just stripping down the database obviously and then pulling it up. So what is inside the database folder? Test db. Here's a docker compose. Okay, so starting from the bottom up, we've got a database container here, which is Postgres version 12, just pure Postgres. Looks with nothing special there, just a plain database. Then we've got a RESTful service. So this is, one part of the Supabase stack essentially. We've got the Postgres database, then we've got the RESTful interface using Postgres version 7.0.1. So if my Docker has started, let's run npm test. Cool, that is doing something. Pulling Postgres version 7, so I obviously didn't have that, and cannot start service because the port is already, so I probably got somewhere Docker dashboard. If you have this problem where the port is already used and you're like me, you're probably running too many services, and yeah, you can see I've got a bunch of old Docker services. I don't actually know what's running on 3000 to be honest, this one, but I thought I had nothing. But first of all, yeah, we can find that out. Terminal. I'm going to open another let's just check, is it? dbres cannot start service, fail driver connectivity bind for 3000 on port 3000. Okay. I think actually it's just another Docker, so let me just try stop everything. But if it doesn't work, make infrastructure. So if that doesn't work, well, what we can do, if you have this problem, so Mac, find out what's running. Here you go. It's obviously very common. I'm just going to Google that. See, there you go. So Google being kind, LSOF I. Okay. And then I am going to pull across another here we go. So you can see there is something running here, which is, yeah, obviously another Docker container. And I think I know it is. I just can't show you guys because it's our internal stuff, so I just need to make sure I don't share any secrets. So one sec, I'm just going to run make stop on our stop.local on another screen, but basically in the background I'm trying to stop all the Docker services, and yeah, it looks like it's that one. Now that's stopping, and if I run this again, it's still there. Okay, so to be honest, I don't even know what it is, but now what I can do is actually, so once you've got this, you've got this process ID, then of course then all you need to do is like kill process Mac. This will tell you what to run, and I can, pretty sure it's just kill, but there you go. Is there a way to list kill processes? Good old Stack Overflow. That's a kill all. We don't want to kill all, but we just want to kill this one process. So it's a kill this process. Fatal error, cannot kill. You know, this could be a problem with my Docker. So what I'm going to do is, in the meantime, just, it actually killed all of Docker. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, I'll start Docker again. It's really like killed everything. So there was a Docker container. Yeah, now it's definitely killed it, but actually killing that Docker container killed all of Docker. Let's see if when it starts up it has it still. So in the meantime, what we'll do is carry on with the next task, which is actually getting those the documentation live, and it's the old one. So I'm going to start here, back in my Supabase JS, and it's literally just coming in here to the quick start. Where is it? Here you go. And this one's on a branch. So no one's actually commented. I left this for a week. Looks like everyone's happy with it. So we just need to put it live, basically. So let's see. Which branch is it on? Docs React guide. Now I can just jump in. Well, it's already there. And if I run, now that this is up, yeah, actually, so I've still got this Docker. Okay. Here's the canonical way for me to kill any Docker container running. I come to my blog, because I've had to do this enough times. Knowledge. Somewhere here is my Docker cheat sheet. Basically kill all containers. We can run a stop all here. Okay, so that's stopping everything that's running. And actually all it's doing is, you can see this command here, docker ps-a-q, that's listing all the Docker services. Then I can just kill anything, but I think honestly that should have done the job, so nothing's running. Okay, now we'll come back. Yeah, so we're going to run this React guide, but now that this is done, I think npm test should be good. There you go. It's running, it's creating a new database. It's running these tests, which are all good. And if all goes well, it should say multiple tests passing. Now the nice thing about doing these all with Docker is that we run these in GitHub functions. So yeah, it's all the CI is done through GitHub. And you can see, yeah, all the tests are passing. That's pretty sweet. Now, if we want to make one fail, which we are going to do, is going to make this maybe single fail. In fact, I don't even know if I'm allowed to run it because of this error, but we'll see. It might run. Then what I'm going to do is add this function somewhere, and all I know is that it's going to be somewhere near the select function. Okay, so that's still running on the side, somewhere in here, and once again I don't know where it is, but I can just find in folder single, like that. Looks like it can't find Postgres builder. Is it this one? Yeah, here you go. So the single here, okay, so this one can't even run because that function doesn't exist. But what I'm going to do is clone this to make this new, and I'm going to have a maybe single function, and that should return a Postgres single response. Actually, it's not going to return that, but let's just see. We can run the tests once again. Now that we've got this, you'll see that this error, the squiggly line, has kind of disappeared. So that's good. But this should fail, actually. So we want to make the test fail. Well, so it passed. There's the first strange thing. So let's see why it's passing, because really if this returns a okay, here you go, because it's to match snapshot. So I bet you this snapshot now has an error inside it. We look at this snapshot, there you go, it's got an error inside it. But actually what we want is that probably it should look more like body will be null. What do these guys have? Okay, so it's going to be data. Is this the single? Yeah, it should be something like this. Data, null, error, null, null, and then status. I think status should be just fine, but basically if it's a 0 returned, then all of these should be nulled out. So the return object will be count. We haven't asked for the count. Data null, error null. Now we'll run it again, and this test will fail. So if anyone's watching this and they don't know, what it tests and why am I writing tests beforehand, you can check out test-driven development. We do it usually with at least with our libraries, and it's particularly good for libraries. So what you want to do is set up all the tests ready to go. Make sure that the tests are either passing or failing, or set up the case for them to pass, and then you write the code to make them pass, and that's called test-driven development. It's it's very useful if you're start off this way, and you've got unit tests inside your code. So cool, there we go. We've got now it's not matching, so maybe single is having an error. It should be null null. And then what I want to do is that I want to do essentially that this here, res, okay, so not that one, this one, okay, where we're actually getting returned this .postgres single promise like, okay. So this one's a bit weird because it's returning a bunch of things, and I think now we're going to get out of time, but that's good. I've made the first step inside this. I've got the tests ready to go, ready to pass. So actually now's the time to commit this. So I'm going to say, okay, first step get set, no actually sets up tests for maybe single. Yeah, then I will push this. And then I'm going to come inside here, my Postgres.js, and you can see I've got this issue, which is issue number 183. Okay, so here, conveniently, GitHub has said compare and pull request for this, which is great. So I can do this and sets up test. Actually, that's not the name of the pull request. I'm going to do, well, I'll just write the comment now. Fix this one, 183, so that we can, peg it against the issue. And we're going to say create maybeSingle function. So here I've created a pull request and a pull request against this issue to fix 183. Now it means that us, the team, the Supabase team, can come in, and quite likely I can see now we've been going for 30 minutes. I thought I'd actually solve this in 30 minutes, but maybe that was a bit ambitious. So yeah, here the team can come in, they can say, yep, I like it. They can also see what the return object is expected to be. And actually, I can ask, one of the team. So I could say add kiwi couple if you're trying to get to me, or add AW alias if you're trying to get to Ant. And then you can ask, hey, is this the return object that you're expecting? We can say yes or no, whatever you want. And then after that, once you've got it going, then you can actually implement the rest. So yeah, I'm not going to do the rest of this, but probably what I'll do is I'll keep this one open, maybe even for next week, and then I'll show how we would implement this, and then how we would get it into Supabase.js. Cool. So the next thing that we're going to do then is, quite conveniently, I've seen that this is returning status 416 if there are 0 rows returned. So what we're going to do is actually now just finish off the one that we started last week, which is this guide. It's not in production, but it's a Next.js guide and a React guide, and we're actually going to push these live. So probably if you go and check out the Supabase docs in 30 minutes or so, these will be live. Now the only thing is that we want to take this 416 error and make sure that that error is not seen in the quick starts. So how we're going to do that is quite simple. If I come back now to Supabase, I'm going to do with React here, and there's one part where we actually fetch we're going to fetch the user's profile. I'll run this soon so that you can see how it looks. Okay, so we're going to fetch the user's profile, get profile here, and you can see here we do a single call. So it says, okay, someone's logged in, then for the first time that they log in, it tries to fetch their profile. Of course, they haven't created a profile yet, so actually there are 0 profiles for this user, and this is throwing an error because it's expecting just 1. So now actually we want this, what we want to do is say that if, where is it? Status equals 416, then just don't throw an error. So here actually we return the status code, status, and status is not equal to 416. Cool. That should at least patch the error. I would have liked a much better DX that is just like maybeSingle for this time round, but yeah, we'll just come back next week and we'll fix the docs and we'll release a new item. I really want to get these guides out for the next, we do a monthly launch post, and that'll happen in a few days. So I really want these guides out so that we can put it in the monthly launch post. So okay, that's good. We've done it for the React guide. Now we're going to do it for the Next.js. So we'll just go like this, Next.js, and we're going to do exactly the same thing since it's just React, both of these. Cool. Now, in theory, that means I can actually come to these. In fact, I'll just commit that. Patches error on single call. Okay, so I'm going to push that up. And actually what you'll see now is that, this PR, this PR is, needed a refresh, and actually these will go away and they'll start building again. So in theory, now what we want to do is check that these guides are just airtight. We're gonna build them once again using these guides. So I'm gonna step through this with a new folder. So let me see. I'm gonna go new terminal here, and we're going to go into, say, cd projects, cd temp. I think I've got a temp folder there. Cool. Now we are going to think if I can make this here. Collapse this one a bit. Yep. Okay. So here, project setup. We need to set up a new database, which is great. app.supabase.io. Sign in. Sign in with GitHub. Okay, and I'm going to create a new project called... I've created far too many projects for myself, so I'm going to create under Supabase called test livestream. And this doesn't actually matter, but I'm going to delete that anyway pretty soon. So while you're live, you can try guess my password, but it's hopefully strong enough. And we are going to step through. So, alright, I've done the first step. I'm creating a database. For anyone dialing in, what this is doing is creating a new Postgres database in the background. And literally it's a full Postgres database, and it's going to have auth, it's going to have storage. We can query it from the dashboard. We can have an auto-generated API, and you can do a bunch of funky stuff with the database in the bottom. Okay. And then, alright, we've set up the new database. Then we're going to go to the SQL section. Then we're going to click user management. We're going to set up the schema basically. Then I'm going to get the API keys, okay, which is fine. So now I'm going to build the app. So I'm going to use Next. Last time I did the Next.js one this way. I'm going to do the React one this time. This one. I'm going to do the React one this time. So we're going to use create React app, and I'm going to use npm. For me, I just always like to use defaults. So what do we got? Supabase React, rm-rf Supabase React. I guess actually yarn is the default for create React app, but for me, default seems to be npm. So I'll start that again, and that should go away and install everything. Then I'll move into that folder, and then I'm going to install one dependency, which is Supabase.js. Let's check out the... Nope, it's not built yet. Then I actually need to... this one should go into cd Supabase React. I can actually I'll just start it here in a code environment so you can see all the structure. It's obviously doing a bunch of stuff, installing a bunch of stuff. I'm going to create a .env file here, and I'm going to put this in my .env file. Great. And then now that that's done, I can create a source Supabase client. Unfortunately, I think that this is still warming up. This has started though, so while that's running, I'll create the database schema so you guys can see. I'll see what it is. So we've got a user management starter, and all it's doing is creating this profiles table. It's got a timestamp with time zone. That should be a timestamp Z. But I don't know. Well, I guess it's the same thing. Then yeah, so we've got everything here, which will set up our profiles table. It's going to set up some row level security, so we can use it in serverless environments. Set up real time. It's going to turn it off by default and just enable it on that table, and then set up a storage bucket for our avatar photos. So if I jump in now to our storage, you can see that we've got an avatars bucket ready to upload. Cool. Alright, now let's jump back into the guide. We're going to create a file here, which we can touch this, and we're going to copy this. So you can see here we've got a Supabase client. I should in theory be able to dump out just everything exactly in the guide. One additional step, I can use the source file from here. So actually, you know, this one is not found, but I know where it is. I'll show you soon. When we deploy it, it'll be live. Login component, so I'm going to touch this. Doesn't no file walls.js. We actually just want to create walls.js. Yep, great. Copy this. Guide. Now if you're stepping through this guide yourself, I would hope you're stepping through it line by line, learning how Supabase works. To be honest, most of it is just Jamstack stuff, React stuff. Very little of it is actually Supabase specific stuff, except fetching some details. So if you know, yeah, there's a bunch of use states and things. The actual Supabase code is very small, but at the end of it we've got quite a functional application. And then we can launch. We just need to edit our app.js. So here, app.js. Oops, something happened there. Copy. Cool. Okay. Okay, last step, we need our keys. Where are they? Here you go. Copy. That's our URL. Then our API key. And once again, it doesn't matter if you see this because it's a non-key, and I'm going to delete out the database. But in theory, I didn't actually do the CSS here, but in theory, I should be able to do npm start here. Need another port, yes. And it's going to start on port 3001. Looks like it's building. Cannot resolve Supabase client. We didn't actually install one thing. Forgot. So let's kill that. We didn't install Supabase.js. So actually we can just do this. npm install. That was definitely in the guide though. Up the top. Initialize. Here you go. So that's great. Great. Yeah. Just gonna ask for another port again. Great. Now if I jump back, refresh. Okay, it doesn't look good because I forgot the CSS, but that was in the last live stream, so I don't want to bore everyone who's dialing again for the first time. Now, this time, if I go, I'm going to add in an email. So, yep, Supabase.io. Once again, I'm going to send a magic link to myself, and then there you go. Check my email for the magic link. When I click it, copy. I'm just going to copy the link here. This would redirect me to here. Okay, so here you go. I've actually got this error, so that's the problem. I didn't want that error to appear, and you know why? This is a bit silly because I didn't refresh the page. So let's see where the single was. I'll refresh first. Single. Okay, you see. Okay, so now it's got this. I pushed it before, and the doc should have updated. So now I want to make sure that this is the main part that I wanted to get to. The status not equal to 416. So account.js. I'm just going to copy all this code again. Then I'm going to come to account, copy and paste. And then, in theory, if I refresh this, it's not working. So yeah, obviously we've got to do something else to make it work. So let's figure out what we have to do to make this work. Well, that's weird. Firefox has changed my layout. How do I move to right? Okay, so here, what I'm gonna do, expected this and account. Okay, that's just Webpack complaining. So what I'm gonna do here, I'll make this bigger. So there, obviously, we want to be nice as well, 416. Let's just see what this status actually is. I'm gonna console log status here, 406. That's because, okay. So the 416 that was getting returned in the other one is the multiple rows, so it's returning multiple rows. What we wanted was one that returns 0 rows. I think actually that's what Steve, so the lead maintainer of Postgres works at Supabase. He just works full time on Postgres, and I think if we look at his comments here, so for 1, many should be 406. Okay, so for 0, the status code is 406 plus this error, results contain 0 rows. For 1, the status code is 200. Many should be 406 plus results contain X rows. So actually, let's just check. Sorry, Steve, we're going to test you live to see actually what the error code is. So what we'll get is this full res object. Can I do that? No, I can't destructure it, but I think it's like a oh no, the error itself. I think, what did the maybeSingle error status text? That's it. So we're going to get the status text out, and we're going to log this so we can see what what Postgres is returning us. So that's actually not acceptable, which is strange. So actually I'll probably go back to that PR that we did, and we'll just make sure, well, that's why you test, right? You just got to make sure it's okay. But for this case, I think it's fine. We're just going to have not equal to 406, and then we know that actually there's a on the table itself, there is a constraint, a primary key constraint. you can't actually insert multiple rows for one user. So I'm just the joys of relational databases that you can put, and Postgres in general, you can put constraints around things. So I know there's just absolutely no way that there could be multiple rows here, so I'm just going to use this 406. I'm going to make this one 406, and in theory, if I refresh now, data is null. So here we're going to do data. Okay, then this one. Okay, in fact now, because it could be null, what I want to do is, if it's null, I want to do const profile equals data or object. Yep, just like that. And then I'm going to do this, or even better, what I'm going to do is if data. So we only update the React parts if data is there. Data, data, data. We should be able to clean that out. Then we don't need status text anymore. Okay, now if I refresh this, cool. Alright, so now I'm logged in and I can update a name. 406 not available. Okay, so it's still showing an error, but that's fine actually, because later when actually Postgres itself returns the error. So what we'll do is when we patch that up, we'll make sure that the developer experience around this is very good, and it seems obvious why that's happening. Now if I look at my database here, the rows, there are 0 rows inside it, and if I just refresh a few times, still 0 rows. Now I'm going to update this. There you go, it just updated. Then I come in here, here's my data, it's appeared. Then in theory, if I refresh this, great, that error is gone. So all we need to do then is inside these quick start guides, do two patches, if you can remember. Here you go. So here we want to make this not equal to 406. Then I'm going to say here, if data, didn't even, there you go. So that's with the next JS one. Then with the React one, I need to do exactly the same. So I'm going to go like this in React, not 406, and then if data, is it the same? Set username, set avatar. Yep, it's exactly the same. Cool. Alright, so now we are good to go. We've got everything ready. We're protected against the 0 rows case throwing an error, a legitimate error, and I'm going to push these live. So finalize the getting started guides. I'll push that, and there's one more thing actually that I was thinking. I don't know, maybe you guys can help out with this one, but I do think that, this getting started, these are like guides, these are kind of like getting started. Yeah, I think let's leave them as guides for now, and then this getting started, but at some stage, like for example, self-hosting is kind of a guide. In fact, I'm even going to move that self-hosting one under guides right now, because it seems more like a guide than anything else. And these ones are kind of just explain all the different parts of the system. So let's do that once again. Sidebars. And there's a self-hosting. So here, we're going to just take that whole block, put it here. Make sure that that's formatted, pretty formatted. Cool. Then I'm going to push that. Moves the self posting under guides. Alright, so we've got 10 more minutes, and in this 10 minutes we're going to push it live. That means all we need to do is merge it in. So one final refresh, you can see that this is now building again. Obviously, yeah, the docs needs to rebuild. There was a failure, so I'm just going to check that this one is ready to go. Patches error on single call React guide. And what I can do actually is just because there might be some merge conflicts out there. Yeah, no, seems like there are no conflicts, ready to go. So as soon as this is done, then we should be ready to go. In fact, just because there are people hanging out, and I don't want you just hanging out needlessly, I'm going to merge this because I think it's going to be done. Should be good. Let's confirm the merge. Now what that is doing is it's just pushing everything to our main branch. It's deploying. So actually now if I come back to Supabase.js, we should have actually a new example inside here, and it should be the with Supabase Next.js. Is that this one? Or demo and guide? I didn't actually want that actually. I think it should be React user management and Next.js user management. Okay, yes, actually it's these two, which is great. I don't know why this one's added 7 days ago. We actually need to remove that soon because obviously I was testing in that branch. But yeah, this one added 8 days ago, and the React one, the Next.js one, user management are the new ones. And then actually there was one thing, I don't know if you remember, there was a link to a CSS file, and that one should now hopefully resolve. There you go. Now resolves because we've pushed it in. The only thing is it's resolving to the wrong place. Is it? You can see the full contents of this file here. Yeah. And let's see what this one is. See, you can see the full contents of the file here. Yeah, okay. So just quickly we're going to do two more things. I'm going to be a bit cheeky. Well, no, I'm not. I'm just going to do a cleanup. So let's jump back into master, and I'll pull. You can see 47 changes. I'm just going to pull that. A bunch of them would be what we just did, and I need to do some cleanup. So I'm going to do a docs cleanup. Create new branch. First of all, we're going to delete the one that I created, this one. And I can see here, if I come in here, this was created by me a week ago. This is getLens. You can see, I don't know if you can read this, created by me a week ago. It's a getLens extension, very handy. So I'm going to remove this one because that's actually a duplicate. Move to trash. And then finally, I should have actually done all this before I merged, by the way, guys. So if don't copy me when you do this. Hopefully do things much better than I'm doing them right now. But there you go. We're going to remove that. So remove redundant example there. And then finally, we need to get the links. So here I'm going to link to React user management, the CSS file, this one here. Yep, here. And I'm going to come to the raw file. So that's the CSS that makes it look good. You don't actually need to read it, we just want to link to it because it's, yeah, because it makes things easier to format. So with React, find CSS. And where you can find the full contents of this file here, and that's using the React, and then with Next.js CSS here. This one, hopefully we've got. So this one should be Next.js user management, but I can guarantee that that's not actually the place where it is inside our. So it should be for the Next.js one. Examples. If I pop this out, Next.js user management. That's Next. We haven't actually got the Next.js user management, so what I'm going to do is leave it pointing towards the React CSS, then I can add the other guide in later on. So there you go. That should add links to the CSS files for guides. Push that. Then come back to our repo, Supabase. This one, docs cleanup, compare and pull request. Removes example and adds CSS link. This one, I know what it is, so I'm just going to create the pull request. You can see this time I will check. There I've just deleted all the files from that example, and it should just be 2 changes here, just linking to the raw file now. Great. So from here, I can merge in, merge pull request, confirm. Okay, and now with 2 minutes to spare, we can come not to this feature branch, but actually to supabase.io, and we're going to come to developers, documentation, and then we can see actually there looks like there's a problem, and unfortunately I can tell you what the problem almost definitely is. It's either that it's probably that our Vercel isn't building, probably because of some build error, and I'll have to jump into Vercel and see why it's not building. Likely it's some linting error or something like that, but unfortunately I just can't do that in the live stream, so you know, just in case there's anything sensitive inside the dashboard that I need to log in and do. So what you can do is just come back to our site in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and hopefully you'll see those guides just down here. So yeah, that's another hour of build in public with Supabase. Next time I promise I'll be much more organized. And actually, if you have any requests, something that you want to see us fix, see us build on the live stream, hopefully something small that we can do within an hour, then yeah, just let me know, ping me on Twitter or hit us up on any of the channels, and we'll do the same thing again this time next week. Okay, thanks for dialing in, everyone. Catch you next time.